For any child of the 80s or 90s, EmuVR is definitely something to check out. It's essentially a virtual bedroom in VR that you can decorate with your very own posters, wallpaper, ceiling, and floors. You can even change your blanket and pillowcase on the bed. Now, EmuVR is a nostalgic throwback that really everyone can enjoy. If you lived through the CRT TV craze, you know the pain of watching TV or playing a video game opposite a window on a sunny day. If you're too young for that, well, you can experience it for the first time here, complete with realistic reflections and little scratches and smudges on the screen. After you set up the look of the room, you get to place screens around. There are 4 versions of TVs from the 70s to the 90s, and then you can set up your consoles too. EmuVR works with RetroArch. It's an all-in-one emulator interface. That means that you're able to run any emulator that RetroArch can. That pretty much includes all consoles from the PlayStation 2 and back, including the NES, SNES, 64, Sega Genesis, 32X, Atari, and even arcade cabinets. Now, they only have models so far for the SNES and the 64, and the PlayStation 1. All of the other consoles will be represented by a generic home console, but the developers say more models are coming. The newest release has added the Zapper for the NES and enables it to work across all light gun games, no matter what console it's running on. Before I get to playing the games, let's talk about setup, because it's not an easy process. Let me start by saying that EmuVR isn't even in beta yet. This is a pre-alpha release that you can get if you ask very, very nicely to join their Discord channel. Once you get access, you will find a wealth of information on how to download, install, and customize it. Installing EmuVR is pretty easy. You just have to extract the file you download, and then you extract RetroArch inside of it per their instructions on their website. Now it's time to get to work customizing your room. They have many posters that you can put up, but you have to download whatever pics you want and format them to the correct size and aspect ratio for each poster, and each one is different. It's just one of the time-consuming processes to set up your room, and I assume when we get a beta version, it's all going to be baked into the program. But until then, it's all manual work. Once you go through the effort of getting your room ready for the first gaming session, then you need to install all of the consoles that you want and all of the ROMs, otherwise known as the original games that you have imported from your computer. Then finally, after downloading, ripping, uploading, and formatting, you're ready to boot up the game and set it up some more. Really, we are almost ready to play. This is where your nostalgia trip starts. You can tell what kind of kid I was right away from my numerous Star Trek posters, The Matrix, Einstein, Jurassic Park, Metallica, Sublime, and I had to cheat a little. Yeah, I put a Picard poster in from the new Star Trek series too. I even made my blanket the home symbol from Stargate, and the SG-1 emblem is my pillowcase. It's so cool. Now it's finally time to put a screen out and try to play a game. I pick a 64 to start with and pop in Mario 64. I love the little details, like having to actually connect the console to the TV, to putting a cartridge in and hitting the power slider. If you've done this in real life, you will have no problems figuring it out in VR. I started playing Mario 64 and got hooked. I sat and played 3 levels, even though I was just playtesting it to feature it on the show. I gotta say, I loved playing a 64 game with my Oculus Touch controllers too, versus the odd-shaped original ones that you really needed 3 hands to use. I put on the original Nintendo and played some Mario, Battletoads on the Sega, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out!, Super Mario Kart, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, GoldenEye, and even got some Diddy Kong Racing in too. It all looks as it was meant to and played great with the help of my Oculus Touch controllers. The little details are really what makes this game, from being able to import your own labels to seeing the glare on the TV and the reflections of the rest of the room. My daughter, by the way, did point out that the fan isn't moving in the reflection of the TV when the fan's actually on in the room. But it's really a great effect. If you want to get into the retro gaming scene, this is the most immersive way to do it. Yes, there are glitches. Yes, it's rough around the edges, but the end result is a true fabrication of the 70s, 80s, or 90s bedroom of your younger years, or your parents, if this is all new to you. And remember, this is a pre-alpha version of EmuVR, so we get to use it while it's being developed. Considering what they have accomplished so far, I'm very, very excited to see what the final project will look like. If you want to try it for yourself, go to EmuVR.net and you can get all the details. Iron Man VR is getting a meaty update. Camouflage is launching a free patch that adds new game modes and weapons to this amazing VR game, and it improves one of the biggest nags to it: load times. Once you've completed the game, you'll be able to re-experience the story in New Game Plus mode without losing your research points or unlocks for the Impulse Armor. The developers have also added a new Ultimate difficulty mode for those of us who have mastered Invincible mode. On the weapons front, Camouflage added a new Continuous Beam Repulsor. As you might imagine, that lets you sustain a beam for several seconds. The EM Charge Cannon will now shoot through the shields of Skull, Revenant, and White drones. Micro Swarm is a new intelligent anti-swarm weapon, and the Gravity Bomb can trap multiple enemies in a single location. To improve overall gameplay, the developers improved load times, thankfully, reducing them by 20 to 30 seconds in some cases. That's especially important in PSVR, where lag can leave you staring at a blank canvas for several minutes. You can also skip cinematic missions before they load if you've already played through the game. And you can skip 2 side missions as well. Camouflage says the changes were prompted by vocal Iron Man VR fans. One thing that we understood innately, gameplay designer Blaine Higdon wrote in a blog post, but didn't fully appreciate until our game was in the wild, was just how passionate Marvel fans are about what we were building. It seems the development team over at Camouflage gobbled up your reviews, tweets, and videos and listened intently to what you had to say and what you wanted more of.